because the economy is going to continue to be extremely rocky and bumpy road in 2026. All aspects of the economy. We will see more and more restrictions being implemented when it comes to water usage in some cities. In some cities, we're going to see rolling water outages. And I've had this feeling for some time that Bitcoin would experience some type of a crash. Not a crash to zero. And I have this feeling that Ripple's doing something different. I don't know what they're doing different. I feel that a whistleblower is eventually going to be coming forward to reveal secrets that are hidden within the Grand Canyon. I feel that there's going to be some type of coming bailouts. And I don't know what's being bailed out. You know how they do the government bailouts? They bail out the banks, bail out this person, bail out that person. I don't know who they're bailing out, but somebody's getting bailed out in 2026. China and Japan both are going to endure huge struggles in their economy in 2026, and to a point where banks close temporarily. Because I see major bank closures of major banks like, Chase or what have you, and it's not because they're closing because of, they're going out of business. No. So overall, it feels to me like the food industry, businesses, restaurants, fast food chains, and even small grocery stores are going to struggle to stay in business in 2026. We'll see closures of movie theaters, especially small theaters, but at the same time, we're going to see a rise of outdoor movie theaters in 2026 about melting glaciers, and even hear or even witness the breaking apart of glaciers, an avalanche caused from a glacier breaking apart. Major breakthrough year. 2026 is a major breakthrough year when it comes to discoveries. And shocking discoveries, like, wow, no way, right? Those kind, they're the exciting kind. The mountains of Brazil was a place I was pulled to very strongly. And this, in turn, is going to reveal sunken pyramids. I see sunken pyramids that are aligned just like Giza in Egypt, submerged cities, and ancient shipwrecks. Silver has been overall the winner, again, when it comes to long-term value. And it will be for quite some time to go. But when there's a problem, there's got to be some type of resolution that comes into place. So remember that. The collapsing of the systems brings in new resolutions. So no fear. Good day, beautiful souls. I do hope that you are having a great day. Welcome back to the Love Shack. I'm spiritual medium Joseph Tittel, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. This is actually technically part 2 of my 19th annual World Predictions. There will be a part 3 too, because I have so much to cover. And this recording that I'm about to show you is a recording that comes from December 14th in a live Zoom event. And I had to cut it down because we're talking that was 3.5 hours, 4 hours on Zoom. Cut it down into different segments, and I really hope you enjoy. In today's segment, we're going to be covering the coming water crisis and a whole bunch of stuff around water. A whole bunch of stuff revolved around discoveries, amazing discoveries, friends. You're going to enjoy that part. And of course, the economy and economic collapse. And just to mention this, because I don't think I mentioned it when I recorded this, I said probably a couple of years ago that we had to watch the Japanese currency and the European currency because they would fall first, said the spirits. And then it would be a trickling effect, falling over to the American dollar and so forth. We already see this happening in 2025. Already see a collapsing of the economies and the structures. And it's going to get really intense when we step in to 2026. But fear not, friends. As I always tell you, always invest in physical assets and physical things. Always have a backup plan. Always have cash handy. These are simple tips that can help you in dire need of, if you come into a point of dire need. Other than that, friends, let me move on with the part 2 segment of my 2026 World Predictions. 2026 is going to be an amazing year when it comes to discoveries. Again, discoveries, inventions, major breakthrough year. 2026 is a major breakthrough year when it comes to discoveries. And shocking discoveries, like, wow, no way, right? Those kind, they're the exciting kind. In 2025, I predicted that we would see major discoveries coming out of Egypt, if you recall my 2025 World Predictions, and from ancient Egypt. And we saw that huge story. I talked about it at tea time before about those structures that were allegedly, discovered. I only say allegedly. I don't know why. They were discovered. Structures, well, allegedly, because Egypt says it's not true. Of course they're going to say that. They don't want people there. They don't want people to know. But we saw the huge structures beneath the pyramids. The big pillars with the spirals and such. Yeah, definitely pretty cool. Much larger discoveries are coming beneath Egypt. Much larger. And many years ago, I discussed the visions I had, even past life memories that I had and shared with you of underground tunnels. Underground tunnels, structures, and there's even a whole city beneath Egypt. Egypt is not the only place where these underground structures and hidden cities await to be revealed. The mountains of Brazil was a place I was pulled to very strongly. The mountains of Brazil, Spirit says, holds many secrets that are to be revealed. Areas where man hasn't really stepped in thousands of years, completely preserved and awaiting discovery. That's exciting. I said if I had to go back and start all over again, I think I'd be an archaeologist because I just love to explore and discover new things, and that sounds exciting to me. So I can't wait to see what comes out of the mountains of Brazil. I feel that a whistleblower is eventually going to be coming forward to reveal secrets that are hidden within the Grand Canyon. Now, again, that's another rabbit hole you can go down because we already know that the Grand Canyon, 80% or more of it's protected by the military. You can't go nowhere near it. Of course, they're hiding something. And of course, when this whistleblower comes forward, they're going to endure a lot of criticism while putting their life in danger. I feel like this is probably somebody that's ex-military ops or something that's stepping forward. And Spirit says that this person, he will speak the truth. I feel there's also a female somehow interweaved with this in some way or another. So maybe two whistleblowers coming out together. The male being the big speaker, one that speaks up the most. There's also a reason, again, that the largest portion of the Grand Canyon is highly guarded by military. You can't even fly planes over it or anything, or below the canyon rim anyway. And no one's permitted in. And if you go near it, all of a sudden these guys show up with big guns and tell you turn around. True story. So what are they hiding there? I know what they're hiding there. A very ancient alien city, for starters. Maybe it's the City of Gold or the Golden City. Could very well be. Turned over into some type of secret military base because I feel like there's people living in there, doing work in there. Maybe they're doing it with some inner earth beings, perhaps. There's definitely something going on there and lots of reveals coming in with the Grand Canyon. I also see some type of huge discoveries coming out of South America. Colombia was the one that came to mind first, and I kept hearing Spirit say, that which is hidden will soon be revealed. That which is hidden will soon be revealed. Other huge discoveries are going to be the remains of ancient beings. We've seen that with Peru in 2025. Some fake, but some actually real. If you remember the interview I did with Puma, we talked about that. Well, we're going to see a lot more discoveries around ancient beings. Of course, they're going to call them hoaxes, but most of them, not all, we'll know the difference, I believe, but they'll be real. I see the remains of ancient creatures not yet discovered by science in 2026. And I also saw this vision of a fossil being cracked open. When I was a kid, we used to go fossil hunting. So much fun. I thought about doing that down here at the creek. Just basically take a hammer and you find the right rocks and you just hit them with a hammer and split them and you'd be surprised. And this was in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. The interesting thing is all the things that me and my friends found were fish and seashells and such. All, ocean life fossils, which tells us that Bucks County, Pennsylvania was under the ocean once upon a time. Interesting enough. But I had this vision of a fossil being cracked open and scientists baffled by what was etched in the stone on the inside. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And I also see something being discovered in Egypt, back to Egypt again, some type of an ancient Egyptian discovery being revealed from the sand. This was interesting because I felt like it comes after some type of a huge severe rainstorm or some type of flooding or something that happens that in turn kind of sweeps away the sand to reveal something poking out of the sand, something amazing poking out from beneath the sand. And this, of course, will initiate archaeologists to go in and dig and get permission to dig, which they will. Other discoveries come from beneath the ocean. I see many discoveries beneath the ocean near Alaska and the Arctic Circle. I see new discoveries being discovered and built by AI, because AI is going to do something that allows us to go deeper into the sea and allows explorers to go deeper into the earth through, caves or tunnels that they weren't able to get into or because they're too deep or what have you. So AI is going to assist in creating some type of new technology that allows us to see things more clearly, to go deeper with better lighting, better video, and this in turn is going to reveal sunken pyramids. I see sunken pyramids that are aligned just like Giza in Egypt, submerged cities, and ancient shipwrecks. I also see one huge discovery beneath the sea that brings with it some type of knowledge and wisdom that enlightens us around the history of the world. So what could that be? What could that possibly be? Something that's discovered in the sea that brings some type of knowledge and wisdom that enlightens us across the globe to our true history. I'm sure they'll try to suppress that one, but apparently they're not going to. Interesting. Great, amazing discoveries. And I feel there is also a coming discovery coming around the Bermuda Triangle. Something that very well may explain paranormal activity in the history of the Bermuda Triangle. If you know about that, I'm sure you do. And I also feel that there is a large amount of sunken gold that is going to be discovered within the Bermuda Triangle. Another thing that Spirit just showed me is there's some kind of ancient technology that's buried there in the Bermuda Triangle. And I feel like there's some type of discovery around this ancient technology. That should be interesting and fun. Let's move on to the waters, because the waters are a big one. Waters have been a big one for a while, actually. And the water is definitely going to be a huge focus in 2026. And again, remember, it's all about renewal and starting things. And sometimes we have to discover the collapsing of systems or infrastructures before we can put something new into place. And going back several years ago, I predicted that we would see conflicts ignite over water. I called the prediction water wars. I think that would have been back in 2023, I might have said that. And we're kind of seeing it a little bit. Not as much as we're going to. I said we were going to see conflicts ignite over water, water shortages, lakes going dry, even people's wells or reservoirs going dry. We did see a lot of that in 2025, but not as much as we could see. We saw the threat from India. Remember, India threatened to cut off the water flow from the dams to Pakistan after that conflict ignited between the two nations. We saw the water crisis that still continues in Mexico City right now. I don't know if it started last year, but last year I had visions of people fleeing Mexico City, likely due to, continued water crises and shortages. Late 2026, this is going to become more of a reality for the folks in Mexico City, especially, and other smaller areas across the globe, especially in the Middle East. Parts of Africa, I feel major drought and record temperatures are going to hit, and that's going to cause issues with some crops on the African continent. I know it's a big continent, lots to cover, but I feel like this whole thing's hitting the whole continent of Africa. I feel like that there's a lot of suffering with drought, crops, and water problems across the continent. Iran is another place. Tehran, to be exact, their biggest city, is enduring a major, severe water crisis. And whether you not realize it, they did the whole cloud seeding thing there, and look what happened. It caused the biggest floods ever in history in Iran. I feel that they are going to reach out for help from their neighbors, such as Turkey. Instead, they're going to receive the opposite, no help at all. Turkey's in control, according to Spirit, of much of the waters in the Middle East in some way or another, as is also Saudi Arabia. And the Saudis, according to Spirit, are also going to be dealing with some type of water issues themselves. And it feels to me, when it comes to Saudi Arabia, it felt to me like there's some kind of contamination happening to their waters. I don't know what kind, but it felt like contamination to their waters. And I know it was discovered here earlier this year that in Arizona, we need our water as much as we can get, and the Saudis are coming and taking the water and shipping it back over to Saudi Arabia. That's how they were able to make the desert into this lush area of growth. Yeah, you're welcome, Saudis, for stealing our water. That needs to come to a stop. And it's because our politicians allow this stuff to happen. Look at what Nestle does with the water and steals water from everywhere. So over the next few years, really kicking off in a very clear view in 2026 is going to be water becoming much more of a huge concern. The drinking waters, the waters that are needed for agriculture. At the same time, I feel that we could be utilizing the waters coming out from massive storms and floods, but we're not. Not yet, anyway. Because all these incoming floods and storms, that water could be contained in some way or another. But it just seems that thought or creation hasn't really come to light yet. But I do feel like it is coming to light. So we'll see that likely in 2026 where somebody decides or comes up with this thought of like, let's take the storm water and utilize it to our advantage. Water shortages. Water shortages are like any other problem. When there's a problem, there's got to be some type of resolution that comes into place. So remember that. The collapsing of the systems brings in new resolutions. So no fear. I feel shady things are happening around water, of course. Remember, you control the food, you control the water, you control the people. You control the weather, you control the world. We heard all those statements before. And they have been working on controlling the food really strong. Next thing's going to be the water. And after a coming period of water shortages and concerns, remember, new solutions are going to come to light. There's going to be new solutions, new inventions, and new ways of getting good, clean water. Now, we know they have desaltation plants where they can take the salt out of the ocean water, but it's very expensive, they say. It takes a lot of energy. Of course, they'd rather put those energies towards the data centers and tracking us all. But there's going to be a change with that, too, and a new way of powering up these desalation plants. Desalation, did I say it right? Regardless, you know what I mean. Taking the salt out of the ocean water. I see them even utilizing that to refill up lakes in the future. I just had that vision now. So they'll use that somehow to like put water back into places where there's drought. And this is coming more, especially when we get into the 2030s, but we'll see these things igniting, the ideas igniting in 2026. I see water shortages coming to India and all throughout India. India is going to be hurting when it comes to water. And I feel there's going to be some kind of conflict that's going to ignite over water when it comes to India, probably again going back to Pakistan and the reignition of that conflict between them. Larger cities are going to be hit first when it comes to water problems, and most. So here in the United States, I see water crisis, not all necessarily happening in 2026, but it may become more clear that we're heading in that direction. Las Vegas, Nevada is going to be the first big one, huge big one. Folks having to install water tanks in their yards or on their properties in order to have water delivered to their homes. I know they do that up in Flagstaff for some reason. A lot of people, I guess because they live rurally. I don't know why they don't have wells, but they do have their water delivered. I wouldn't want to have to depend on that. I don't know about you all. I would not want to have to depend on that. I see water issues coming to Los Angeles, California, Phoenix, Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, and all throughout Texas. And with Texas, it's going to be a big concern, of course, when it comes to the cattle and the agriculture. But remember, solutions will come. Solutions will follow. It may take quite a few years before they do, but it all does lead to solutions. I see some type of protests taking place that are breaking out over water as well, like water rights or clean water. And I see one of these protests reminds me, if y'all remember, I did a video called The Black Snake Prophecy years ago. It's my most watched video on YouTube, actually. I think it's got like 500,000 views. And that's when Standing Rock Reservation in the Dakotas, the Native American reservation, fought against big oil. You can go back and look up that video, Black Snake Prophecy. And they were basically, the oil companies wanted to put an oil line underneath, a pipeline underneath their river. And the Black Snake Prophecy speaks about that very clearly. And they lost that fight. The native Standing Rock people lost that fight, unfortunately. And that prophecy states specifically that a black snake will come and attempt to cross the waters. And if the black snake crosses the waters, soon after the waters will become poisoned. So if Spirit was showing me this, and I had this whole feeling of Standing Rock, and this is just analyzing, this is just trying to interpret. I kind of interpret this that this could be perhaps one of two things. Another situation with the natives standing up against water, maybe over a pipeline, another one of those scenarios playing out. Also, Australia, I don't know, Australia just popped in my mind very strongly. So there's some kind of conflict over waters in Australia happening, and water is becoming tainted. The other interpretation I have of this would be that it's the actual prophecy unfolding completely, meaning that we're going to see some type of an oil leak in the rivers, specifically up in the Dakotas, North and South Dakota. Let's hope not. It might be that exact pipeline from Standing Rock that begins to leak into the waters. Let's hope not, but it is the prophecy, and prophecy really never lies. And the natives were out there fighting because they knew they were even holding the signs, Black Snake prophecy. Crazy. And it was interesting because I forgot all about that. I haven't thought about that in years. When I was channeling this information through, Spirit kept showing me, reminding me of the video I did. So that's my interpretation. You can always let me know what your interpretation is in the comments below. I had a short vision. Short, meaning like very short. Very short. And it was really interesting. It was almost like a flash. And I felt like I was in a small city apartment. A real small city apartment. Could have been New York City. It just felt really small. I mean, they probably have small, little, tiny apartments in other big cities like Hong Kong and maybe Tokyo. Not sure. But I knew I was in a city because in this flash of this vision, I could see the window. There was a big window, and I could see I was high up in a high-rise building, and I could see out the window that I was in a city. And I heard the sudden alert on the telly. You know, the television alert systems. I heard it first. And then I look at the telly, and I see going across the telly a citywide water alert. Citywide water alert. It was just going across the screen. And then I saw the words pop up, stay tuned for an important alert around water. That's all I saw. It was a flash. It was really quick, maybe a 15-second vision, 20-second vision. And being this came to me as an alert, we can easily assume that there's going to be, water maybe somehow tainted, because that would be something to alert people to, like don't drink the water. Water's not safe right now. Either way, this is a city-wide alert due to some type of water shortage, some type of issue with the waters. Another feeling that I just had is that this could also be related to some type of seismic activity that causes a tainting of the waters and a cutoff of the waters. I don't know if it's related or if I'm getting something different. It's another thing that happens. When I'm doing this, more stuff comes and more stuff flows in, and thank you to the spirits. Thank you to the spirits. Now, in the future, we will see more and more restrictions being implemented when it comes to water usage in some cities. In some cities, we're going to see rolling water outages. We hear of rolling, brown outages or blackouts or whatever, rolling power outages. But now we're going to be hearing about rolling water outages. Vegas comes to my mind once again. So they sometimes, again, like they do with power outages where there's too much high usage of energy. So they, roll out certain areas and turn out certain areas for a certain amount of time. So to me, water is only going to be turned on in specific areas during specific time slots. Like if you have to get a shower, you have to do it between 10 and 12, 10 a.m. and 12 noon. Felt really weird. And it feels to me like, I feel also separately that there's going to be some kind of push. This was weird too. To put meters on people's wells or well water. And now I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, doesn't it? Like, you want to come on my property and put a meter on my well? Are you out of your mind? Like, are you crazy? But they're going to use some type of an excuse that wells are tapped into a community aquifer throughout the whole neighborhood or what have you. And therefore, they have to monitor how much each person is taking out of the aquifer. That's how they're going to pull it and see what everybody's using. And then try to, in turn, again, first it'll be see how much you use, and then it'll be see how much we can charge you. I feel like this begins in European countries first, for some reason or another. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Beautiful tribe, if you are enjoying this content so far, and I really hope that you are, you made it to this point, so that's a good sign that your ADHD is totally hanging on to the video today. And if that's the case, do please hit that thumbs up button. We call it the love button here at this channel. Show your love. It takes so much time, energy for content providers to put content together for you. And all we ask for is a little appreciation just by simply hitting that thumbs up button. It shows the algorithms you want more content like this on your page. And it also helps the page to grow and the channel to grow. And I greatly appreciate you for that. Also, if you're new here and you want to continue to receive the most accurate predictions, prophecy, and truth, great meditations, great content, you want to vibe with our awesome tribe, please do hit that subscribe, click on that little bell, and then hit all for notifications. Remember, you can catch me every Tuesday for Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time, where we talk about world events and what's going on and how it relates to predictions and prophecy. Down below, you can find all the links to all my social media. Moving on to the second part of today's content and predictions. Moving on to the economy in 2026. Because the economy is going to continue to be extremely rocky and bumpy road in 2026, all aspects of the economy, but mainly the fiat currency, of course. Because we all know at this point in time that fiat currency is completely failing. And the Fed is dropping rates. They're printing billions and billions of more money now and spending more money than ever. That's all a setup for disaster. There are huge wealth transfers that are taking place right now. The globalists, big wealth transfers. Because the globalist knows what's coming. Because, that's why they're preparing. They're behind it all anyway. They're hogging it all up for themselves because they're greedy, right? Very, very greedy. While getting ready to totally kind of screw us in the long run, because that's what they're going to try to do. That's what they always try to do. I feel that there's going to be some type of coming bailouts. And I don't know what's being bailed out. You know how they do the government bailouts? They bail out the banks, bail out this person, bail out that person. I don't know who they're bailing out, but somebody's getting bailed out in 2026. The government is going to be allegedly bailing someone out. Perhaps maybe the banks. I don't know. I don't know if this is in the United States or it's a global thing, bailouts. And I also see smaller banks running into issues, big issues with closures of smaller banks, while the bigger banks are going to merge. And the bigger banks are going to buy out the little banks. We'll see all this merging and coming together in 2026. I also feel that there's going to be major bank closures. Not because of the small banks going out of business and closure, but separately I feel that, not to confuse the two, because I see major bank closures of major banks like, Chase or what have you. And it's not because they're closing because of, they're going out of business. No. They're closing branches. They're closing branches first to save themselves lots of money and lay off a bunch of people, while also forcing folks to do everything digitally. Don't do it online. You don't have a branch near you. You're forced to do it online. So that push is coming in 2026. China and Japan. China and Japan both are going to endure huge struggles in their economy in 2026, and to a point where banks close temporarily. Folks unable to access their funds for some reason or another, and that's going to really piss people off. Again, protest, maybe even riots. People taking what they want. So remember, it's always a good idea to have some type of backup cash handy. Backup food, backup whatever you need, just back it up, friends, back it up. I see major hack attacks, cyber hack attacks that are going to be happening around banking systems and around anything that holds money, whether it's, the apps that people use for crypto or stocks. I just see a lot of hacking around all these things. And I see this heightened theft that's coming around cryptocurrencies from hackers. So be careful, friends. I even see some type of posed cyber attack on the stock markets and the stock market exchange in New York City, potentially causing a temporary blackout of the stock market exchange for some odd reason. And for some odd reason, I feel like a lot of these coming issues we will notice taking place on Fridays. I don't know why, friends, but that was the feeling that Spirit gave me. A lot of these events are going to be taking place on Fridays. Woo! Probably just in time for the weekend, so you're kind of screwed. You can't do anything on the weekend, right? Always seems to be agenda behind everything. Now, I feel that we are going to be seeing many closures of small businesses, unfortunately. And even closures revolved around corporate stores and box stores. So we're going to see some fast food chains that are going to announce major location closures around fast food chains. Hopefully, let's hold our fingers crossed on this one. Hopefully it's because people are waking up to the fact that that food's absolutely friggin' toxic. Maybe that's why. And they're starting to become more healthier. That can be in 2026. That 1 year makes people change and do things differently. And that includes eating habits, health, all those things come into play. So overall, it feels to me like the food industry, businesses, restaurants, fast food chains, and even small grocery stores are going to struggle to stay in business in 2026. It's going to be a bit of a rough year for them. I do feel like many will make it pull through, but it will be definitely a year of challenges. And amongst the major closures, we are going to see an announcement around a chain of movie theaters closing their doors. Now, if we go back 15 years ago, this is what, my 19th year of doing these predictions. So we'll say 15 years ago, I predicted that in the future, we would see all the malls shut down. You wouldn't be able to go shopping at malls anymore. I also said that we would see movie theaters closing down. I said that malls would cease to exist 15 years ago. Malls are almost ceasing to exist. When I was in Pennsylvania, I went to the old mall, and it was vacant. Even up Flagstaff, there's like nobody there. It's crazy. Few stores, most empty. This has almost become a complete reality now, 15 years later. Except there's still very few malls that remain standing. By the end of 2026, there's going to be a rare few malls that remain standing. You're going to see a lot of them closing down. And over the next few years, we're going to see many changes and closures of movie theaters. Although, something I thought was kind of interesting and slightly exciting, we'll see closures of movie theaters, especially small theaters, but at the same time, we're going to see a rise of outdoor movie theaters. Remember them? I remember that when I was a kid going to the movie theater, outdoor movie theater, the drive-in movie theater, they call it. Yeah, we're going to see a big blow up of that happening. It's going to become a thing. That'll be cool. People will be doing it outside instead of inside. We will also see the merging of big corporations. Business, real estate has also going to be a challenge. And, let me go back. I just got tongue twisted. So you know how we see the phone companies merge together, and now you only have one choice when you had three choices? It's kind of what's happening. The merging. We just saw the merge happen. What was it? Netflix just bought Warner Brothers? Is that what happened? That big merging of companies. Now Netflix holds all the ownership around all these major movies and such. Crazy, right? We're going to see a lot of that in 2026. Now, business real estate, not regular real estate, but business real estate has been a huge challenge since the 2020 bug. Because now there's so many empty office buildings and other buildings that are just going vacant from one city to the other. Well, I actually see this turning around, the business aspect of real estate. I see it turning around. And again, it has to be the business type, like these old vacant buildings and such. And a few areas, a few states, and even local municipal are going to end up converting these buildings into housing. And even I see some cities taking over these buildings and making it housing for the homeless. But of course, we know that'll likely go to the not-so-legals. But we'll see a flipping of this. We'll see a flipping of the big business real estate. And some of them will be flipped over into very fancy apartments, very fancy rich people apartments, by big companies, of course. So real estate could still be a good investment in 2026 in the right areas, the right properties in the right areas. More than anything, I would tell you property is the one to get. It's not so much buying the house to rent out or such. It's more buying land, buying property, especially rural property. Rural property, yes, I could say that word. That's going to be a big one. So if you're going to invest in real estate, that'd be where I would go. And then if you got big bucks, then flipping these big buildings is another one. It's another way to go. But the housing bubble, it's going to pop eventually. Just not quite yet. And remember, of course, I'm not a financial expert. I'm not a financial expert or a financial consultant. I am a spiritual medium. On that note, when it comes to precious metals, one of my favorite topics that I called a few years ago, I told you all to invest in precious metals. And I told you overall, invest in silver over gold, because the spirits told us back in 2021 that silver would be the best long-term investment. Just this year, look at how high silver has gone up over gold. If you had the same amount of money, say 10 grand in gold and 10 grand in silver, you made more money off your silver if you were to turn around and sell it right now. Don't sell it yet, though. That has been proven, again, to be great advice from the spirits. Hopefully you took that advice, because I sure did. I didn't always take the spirits' advice, because they told me this back in 2008. And then remember the big skyrocket where silver hit the all-time high in 2011? Well, we just beat that in 2025, that all-time high. Silver has been overall the winner, again, when it comes to long-term value. And it will be for quite some time to go. But there's some things to go with this, though, that we need to kind of hone in on. Because sadly, I have this really strong feeling with silver, specifically silver, palladium, and platinum. That reminds me of what Roosevelt did back in 1933 with the gold seizures, right? We know about that. We learned that in school. Silver is becoming a hot commodity, and it's becoming a hot commodity way too quick. They can't dig up as much silver as that's being used every year. And China just cut off all their silver imports. So it's needed desperately, friends. China knows that because it's needed desperately in every electronic, every solar panel, electric car batteries, medical equipment, and the list just goes on and on. Too much silver has been moved around way too much lately by the big bankers and the big holders. That should tell us something. That's a big red flag. This is a sign in itself. And I feel that the globalists are about to pull something shady around precious metals, especially around silver, platinum, and palladium. I don't know what they're pulling, but they're pulling something. I feel it. And I feel that new rules, new laws are going to be passed down to who can possess such things. So they're going to make it where who can possess things and who can't possess, or who can sell and who cannot sell. And I feel like some type of revaluing of precious metals is coming. And knowing our governments, friends, knowing our government's history, that revaluing of precious metals is not going to be for our benefit. It's going to be for their benefit. So I feel that we must watch the prices of silver very closely. Those three, silver, platinum. Gold's still good. Gold would be the better one to hold on to in the long run. But right now, still investment in silver because it's going to rise. Watch silver really closely because at some point when you made a good profit, that might be really the time to turn your silver and trade it in for gold. Because if they do a call like they did in 1933 on gold, and they do that with silver, your gold's safe. That's why the global elite all have gold. It's not needed as much, or really at all, compared to silver when it comes to electronics and stuff. They don't need it. You know, it's not a desperate situation with gold like it is with silver, palladium, and platinum. And I stated in the past that we would see silver rise perhaps around $75 by the turn of the new year. We're close. It went down a little bit recently. I'm again recording this on the 14th of December, but it still can rise. And I do still feel that there's going to be a break and that it will break $100 sometime in the early part of next year, 2026. It could even happen soon after. Soon after it hits $100, it could reach a bit as high as $125 an ounce. And that's when I feel like that's when the shady moves come in against us. You know, that's when the shady moves against us hit the board from the board players. So remember, you got to follow me on Tea Time Predictions podcast every Tuesdays for weekly predictions updates so that we can keep an eye on this. Because there will be a point, I believe. I'm feeling it now, not 100%, but I'm feeling that at some point early next year, I'm going to be trading my silver in for gold. I just feel like the government's up to something really shady, especially here in the United States, but probably Great Britain too, and probably across the globe. Now, when it comes to crypto, again, I'm not a financial expert or a financial advisor, and by no means I am not an expert or have any expertise in crypto. I feel crypto market can be a really dangerous place. It's like going to the casino, and it could be an even more dangerous place in 2026. You know, like a casino to a gambling addict. That's how dangerous it can be in 2026. So I feel more folks are going to wake up and see some of their crypto cash at zero, especially around altcoins. I wouldn't invest in altcoins. I'd run from them. I have this feeling, and I've had this feeling for some time, that Bitcoin would experience some type of a crash. Not a crash to zero, but some sort of a crash. And they say they did that in 2025. I mean, it did take a hell of a dip, that's for sure. And I feel like it'll do that again. I feel like it'll do that again, and when it hits around 70,000, that'd be a time to go in and buy again. That could be the crash around between 50 and 70,000. Not that it's a crash, but you get what I'm saying. And this could be again when people really awaken. And it feels like it goes lower to me again, and then all of a sudden folks wake up to the shock that, oh my God, where'd my Bitcoin go? But don't let this scare you, friends. If you're in Bitcoin, don't let it scare you. Don't hurry up and cash in because you'll regret it. Stay in it to win it, as they say. Stay in it to win it. Pulling out is going to bring you nothing but regret. You can pull out temporary if you know what you're doing until it hits upwards of 120. When it hits upwards of about 120,000, cash in before it makes that fall because it's going to go up to that probably as we go into the new year. But I see it going back. And if you know what you're doing, again, when it goes up to 120, sell. And when it goes back down to that 50 to 70 range, you might want to buy again. I feel that Bitcoin is a big part of the globalist plan and the world digital currency in the future, which means overall, Bitcoin is going to skyrocket. In the coming years, perhaps by 2030, I'd say Bitcoin would be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, 120 is nothing. Could be at 300,000. Maybe even 500,000 by the time we get to 2032 in the new earth. And I still stand behind my intuition that had me build up my portfolio with XRPs, one, that I feel like could go up to $5 to $6 in the coming years. It's not a huge jump. I know people think it's going to go to 100. It could. It's possible. I just don't feel like as soon as you would want it to. Remember, these are all long-term investments where you let your money sit there unless you really know what you're doing. And it would be also, XRP would be the roots of the future forest of the digital system. Here's the other thing, though. I had this feeling, because XRP's Ripple. And I had this feeling that Ripple's doing something different. I don't know what they're doing different. I could almost say it's shady, but it's not shady. I feel like they're doing something different at Ripple. They're changing things around and doing something different, which in turn means something new's coming around it. And that feels good to me, actually. That feels even better to me, whatever's happening. So again, we'll have to watch not just XRP, but watch Ripple, the company, very closely. Very closely. XLM's another one. Cardano's another one. These are ones just that I have that I'm sharing with you. And Ethereum. Ethereum's another one that I feel like will be in the thousands. I forget what it is now. Isn't it like 1,200 or something like that? We can check. Let's check. I was at 3,000. Excuse me. I was way off. I could see Ethereum going to $5,000, $6,000 in the next 2 years. So that's another good one. And right now it's kind of a little bit low at 3,000. I feel like it might dip below 3,000 and be a good time to go in. Now, will Bitcoin is going to give all of them a run for the money, of course. But I think Ethereum will too. I think Ethereum will give a run. Ethereum and whatever happens with Ripple and XRP, I feel like both of those is going to give Bitcoin a good run for the money over the next 5 years. We'll say 5 years between now and between now and 2032. Because remember, Spirit told us about that window of time, 2025 to 2032. So we'll say in that window of time. And I feel like this is going to make, a lot more millionaires in the future. Other than that, remember, these are all long-term investments. Long-term investments that you don't want to, because people love to pull their money out when it's in the red and you lost money. Why would you do that? Just leave it there. It'll grow back up again. It'll go back up. Remember, patience comes with patience. Patience brings rewards. Always remember that. Back to the economy. In other parts of the world, I see huge problems for the economy in Europe. I kept seeing the Europe spinning around like it was caught up in a tornado, just spinning around and spinning around. So I feel like there's like some type of fall revolved around the euro and many financial woes that are truly going to begin to awaken the people on major levels in Europe, Great Britain, France, all those areas. And remember, with awakened folks comes anger, protests, riots, and looting. So Great Britain, especially, craziness in 2026. Craziness to the point that, is it Carney there? I get them all mixed up. But their leader will end up bailing out. I'll get into that a little bit more in detail in a little bit. The negative aspect, going back to the crypto realm, is that there's going to be new laws and legislation that are going to be implemented around crypto, especially as soon as we step into the new year. Governments are basically ensuring that they get their money one way or not. And if not, they're going to eventually be able to just take it right from you, right out of your crypto account. Go right in and take it right on out. I see countries and governments somehow coming together. I feel like they're coming together in agreement and agreements and technology around the crypto markets. I don't know what they're doing. I just feel like the governments are coming together and doing something together. That could likely be the one world global currency that we turn into in the next 2 to 3 years. It's all starting in 2026. I also feel somehow that they being the governments, of course, and the globalists, are going to, of course, integrate artificial intelligence into the crypto system as a way, basically, for their advantage, not ours, to monitor all crypto activity. So they're really coming after us, friends, one way or another. That's what I have for the economy for now. Remember to join me every Tuesday because we do updates each and every week. Let us talk about artificial intelligence. Creepy as it is, I find it to be pretty creepy. I don't know about you all. The extreme dangers is what we need to focus on. The extreme dangers revolved around artificial intelligence because that is something that's going to become very clear in 2026. This is going to give governments, of course, the power to push this narrative that it's all for your own good, right? It's all for your own good. We have to do this for you, for the kids. So social media platforms are going to get bombarded by fake AI. They already are. But really in 2026, they're going to get bombarded by AI videos and such that get so advanced to the point that you really literally cannot determine real from fake. That's creepy. I mean, this all feels like a really big part of the plan of the globalist elite and those hierarchy families. It's not a conspiracy because short time we're all going to see the truth revolved around this. AI, like anything else, has its goods and it has its bads. But when it's in the hands of the bad people, it can have more bads. So in turn, this is going to give governments, the option to decide that AI is out of control and we need to do something about it. And who is behind all these video posts, right? These fake videos, these AI videos. This is where, something I've been talking about for years, this is where internet and digital ID becomes mandatory. Without it, you just simply won't have access. They'll be like, you don't have access. This, of course, will turn into requiring us to have our biometric data sent into the government. Like, if you remember, that just happened in Vietnam earlier this year, and they shut down millions of bank accounts for those that refused to give their biometric data. So it's kind of like handing your soul over to the devil's minions. That's what your biometric data is like. So this, of course, is going to come with a huge resistance from the people, as it should. A huge resistance that turns into protests, riots, and angry folks not falling for this agenda. We should be the resistance. We should not allow this push to happen. There's going to be, of course, a new law that's going to be put into place that regulates AI. And if you noticed, in the United States, Trump just passed the executive order that states aren't allowed to control it. It's all federal controlled. Only the federal government can regulate it. That's creepy. And the problem is that the agenda is to limit our access. While the globalists, the militaries, the countries, they get to do what they want with artificial intelligence, but they're going to limit our access to it. Cut us off from it in some form or another. They won't be able to fully do so, of course. AI is soon going to be tapped into the Starlink satellite grid, according to my spirit guides. That could be creepy. I don't know why they would want to incorporate it other than some type of a tracking system. And expect that announcement to happen from Starlink, sometime by late 2026. AI will indeed, at the same time, bring some really amazing and positive things to the table. Very positive things. From, say, new cures for diseases, safer ways of mining precious metals or any kind of mining, and even building buildings and building things, doing it in a safer way that's safer for the people. There's going to be amazing inventions that come out of AI, and the list is going to be endless in its possibilities of what it's going to do for us. Sadly, it's also going to take away a lot of jobs in the future. Mostly around, unfortunately, more of the older generation's jobs. People that have been there a long time, doing these jobs for a long time, because the younger generations are going to become more tapped into the technology end of things. And you'll see colleges and universities around the globe changing their curriculum to something completely different, where most of their curriculum won't be studying how to be a teacher, for example. You might study to learn to teach technology or something different. Technology, business, careers, things like that. And many careers that we see today will completely vanish. Remember, new things will go into play. There's still got to be those who program and those that still run the computer systems. This one's really creepy. Google and sentient AI is already out, according to Spirit. It's already out there, friends. And I said this at least about a year ago, and Spirit confirmed to me a few days ago when I was working on this that Google AI is the one. It's already sentient. And I feel we may receive some kind of confirmation of this truth in 2026, and it will be likely through a whistleblower of some sort and some other type of leak that comes out, maybe a documents leak or something like that. Now, I feel Elon Musk, he's right behind Google in creating a sentient AI being or system. They're going to push this out in the future, and this is where it kind of gets really creepy. They're going to push it out in like robots, kind of like RoboCop. They're going to put it in them, these sentient type of beings in robots, perhaps even home robots, but not telling us at all that that's the case, or telling us or leading us on to knowing that they have sentient potential. So it's kind of interesting, really interesting, kind of creepy too. It's almost like the movie Terminator or a RoboCop or the one with Will Smith. What was that one called? Yeah, creepy. Significant windows of time for this coming year. First and foremost is going to be the period between March equinox, which is the 20th of March, and Easter Sunday. That felt like a really important time, and I'm pretty sure Easter Sunday is the 4th. Let me pull that up. I'm pretty sure it's April 4th. You can look up Easter, but that window of time. And it feels like a very, very strong energy that's coming in on the equinox on March 20th. And that energy shift is going to bring about major changes globally. And it feels like a very powerful energetic shift that begins flowing in right around March 18th, right before the equinox. And that's going to conclude right around the date April 7th, right after Easter. So yeah, Easter I'm pretty sure is the 4th. So that window of time there too, March 18th to the 7th of April, a big energy is coming in. This would include ascension codes, downloads, spiritual downloads, and so forth. I would tell you to expect there to be huge solar flare activity around this time, and then also outages in many areas. April is going to be a month that's going to bring with it a lot of flooding events, followed by something huge that occurs during this equinox Easter shift that's happening. And as we get closer to that, I'm sure I'll get more information from the spirits. That's why it's always important to make sure you subscribe and have your notifications marked. And check the channel each week because I put out usually 2 videos every week. Tuesdays, of course, and usually Wednesday or Thursday. Now, drought, extreme temperatures, and sadly fires are going to be a really big part of 2026 from the months of July through the months of October especially. So we have to watch that window of time, July through October. We'll see record-breaking early temperatures hitting around May, which would be like abnormal, where some people are experiencing 90 degrees, close to 100-degree weather in May, when we should be getting that in July or August. So we'll see that. But the months where it comes to extreme temperatures and fire connections would be from July through October. And that's across the globe. Now, with many coming heat and shifting of atmospheric pressure and the directions of the winds shifting, because I see this weird shift happening with atmospheric pressure and the directions of the winds. And this is going to bring this unusual warmth to cold areas. And in turn, this is going to affect glaciers in some sorts. So we're going to hear a lot in 2026 about melting glaciers and even hear or even witness the breaking apart of glaciers, an avalanche caused from a glacier breaking apart. I believe this could be potentially even happening right around Alaska. I'm also pulled to the northern parts of Europe and Russia. Switzerland was another country that jumped out at me really strong. So these are areas where we're going to see, again, melting of glaciers, avalanches caused from melting glaciers and glaciers falling apart. And even I'm seeing this vision now of this big crack in the Arctic that occurs. For some part of me feels like that could also be related to not just melting, but more of even an earthquake that causes a big part of the Arctic ice to break off. So that vision just came to me now. We're also going to hear a lot about avalanches due to extreme snow in parts that suddenly quickly begin to warm up, which is going to cause major avalanches. One that sweeps away a whole small town. I saw a vision of one sweeping away a whole small mountain town. I've had visions of several rescue efforts around these snow and ice disasters. And I cannot help but to feel that there is something nefarious around one of these coming melting glaciers. Just one of them. And how it felt shady to me, it felt nefarious to me, was it felt like maybe they were using the Mountain Dew thing, we talked about earlier, as a way to warm up that area or to melt a glacier purposely. This could actually go back to Russia. Or Russia may actually be somehow involved in this. We'll have to see how that plays out. Perhaps the ones using the weapon to melt the ice could be Russia, or could be somebody using that against Russia. We'll have to see. But it was really interesting and interesting visions. Going back to the whole Easter thing, because I feel like Easter weekend is something really huge and significant. I don't know what it is. I feel like something huge, significant. A lot of it's energy-related, energy shifts, but I still feel like huge events are happening on that weekend. I also feel that July is going to be a vital window of time, especially between the dates July 2nd and July 11th. And even those particular dates, those specific dates, the 2nd and the 11th, but that whole window in between. And July 4th also jumps out to me pretty strongly as well. I feel right around the equinox, March 20th and 21st, is a huge time of shift. And also June 21st and June 22nd. I feel at some point there is going to be some kind of type of a huge volcanic eruption that happens in one of those windows. And I feel like this is likely going to be here on United States soil, whether it's all the way up there in Alaska or somewhere else along the coast, maybe Washington, maybe right off the coast of Oregon. But I feel like that is a point where we will see some type of a major volcanic eruption occurring on U.S. soil. And that in turn, according to the spirits, is going to signify following this volcano that blows in the United States, is going to signify some type of economic turbulence following the eruption. So it'll be really interesting to see exactly how that plays out. Am I freezing on there? I feel like there you have it, beautiful ones. And again, I really do hope that you enjoyed this segment. And keep in mind that I already put out 3 different videos on predictions for 2026 because there's so much to cover. And then my next video that will premiere next Sunday, right after Christmas, or Monday, one of those 2 days after Christmas before New Year's, will be all about countries and leaders. You're going to not want to miss that. World War III, a bunch of other stuff that you're not going to want to miss. And so make sure that if you haven't already, you want to join the tribe, smash the subscribe, the bell, and also you get notifications. And thank you for clicking that thumbs up love button. Smash that baby. Show your love, because I love and appreciate all of you, especially the supporters who make this free content possible for everybody else. The members of my Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit community, you can find the link down below in the description, and also those who join the YouTube community by being monthly supporters. We thank you for making this content, again, available for everybody else. Also down below, you'll find all the links to all my other social media. And if you want to connect with me directly, of course, if you have links or anything to share about things, please just leave them down below in the comments. Do not email them to my office. Use the office email strictly for business. Thank you. And you can connect with me directly at my website, spiritmanjt.com or josephtittel.com, Tittel.com. Watch out for scammers on social media platforms. If you get a direct message from somebody that appears to be me, I assure you it is not me. Report those profiles immediately. Also down below, lastly, you'll find links to all the other prediction videos I've done already. I did a map scrying predictions for 2026. I did a 2026 review, and we also put out part 1 of these predictions just yesterday, or depending on when you're watching this, of course. All the links are below, or they'll pop up at the top. Other than that, friends, thank you for your love and support. I wish you and your family a very, very happy holiday season, a very Merry Christmas, and a joyful and abundant 2026 and beyond. Till the next time, remember, be bold, be true, be kind. Be you, baby. Let your light shine ever so brightly as we step into 2026. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste and much love, friends. Much love.